Hello YouTube, it's me again, your friendly neighborhood green party rep for Humber St. Barb Baybert. I'm here again to discuss topic 3 out of 8, perhaps 9. We'll be talking about weaving and the potential for the weaving industry in the eco-village. Again, each of these industries will cover a different individual as the organizer, leader, coordinator, whatever, someone who really knows their stuff and who can train others and coordinate more than really doing anything on their own. So, weavers. As I will discuss in the animal husbandry section later on, we will have a number of animals on the property eventually, and as the community grows, every single industry will grow with it as we add more industries and add more workers. Now, at present, we're going to have cashmere goats, first and foremost for their fiber, second of all for their meat and their milk and their offspring. We will have Angora rabbits, again, first of all for their fiber, then for their meat and their offspring. And rabbits aren't that good for labor, unless you count breeding. Though goats and sheep can still pull material. Sheep we may or may not have, that's currently in debate, but there's nothing wrong with it. Sorry. A little bit sheepish tonight. But I'll go ahead on a lamb here, and we'll see how it goes. Sheep can be used for their wool, as well as their offspring and I guess their milk. I've never heard of milking a sheep, but who knows. We're pro-choice here in Tir Tairngire Eco Village. We also intend to have pigs, though there are varieties of pig that offer fiber, it isn't really worth talking about. As well as Irish Dexter cattle that will have fiber, but once more, not really worth talking about. It'll be more of a luxury, rare, niche item than it will be a regular thing. But focus right now on wool, Angora, and cashmere. Rather, sheep wool, Angora, and no sweat. The idea is that the weaver will be one of the most intensive or exhaustive industries in the entire eco-village, because you'll need someone probably of the animal husbandry department, again, that'll be discussed in video 5, we're currently in video 3, to shear the animals before or after slaughter, depends on the animal. And yes, we will actually be producing meat because the human digestive system does indeed favor meat protein over pure vegetarianism. I don't care what you say. We're omnivores by genetics. However, we are pro-choice, so if people do indeed come to the eco-village and prefer an all-vegetarian or, God help us, vegan diet, we will cater to those individuals and provide for them menus for all occasions. But I couldn't imagine, like, I've never seen a really powerful looking vegan. They may well exist, it's not my experience. Anyway, step 1. We will have people shearing the animals and producing fibrous bats. The bats are then applied into carding machines. There's a delightful woman on YouTube who does carding videos. She has a little hand carding tool, 2 wheels that spoke together. What a fun girl. She's so energetic. It's delightful. Worth your while, track her down. I forget her name now offhand, but it's definitely worth a while. She's a great video hostess, and, you know, my hat's off to her. She really got me excited about this, just feeding off her excitement alone. So, the bats, which are just what you shave off the goat or sheep or rabbit, are fed into carding machines. The bats are basically big knotty clots of fiber. When they're fed into the bats, they're oriented into rigid lines, almost like you'd expect if you took a plastic and pulled it apart. You get little strands in between. It orients the fibers. That's step 2. Step 3 is when you take the carded bat, with or without lanolin. If you wash it or not, it's called spinning in the grease or not spinning in the grease. A bit more complicated than this video requires, but just so you weavers realize, I'm aware of these processes. There are benefits both ways. So you got a spinning wheel, and you feed in these carded bats, right, with individual layers. You feed it into the spinning wheel, and it'll twist a thread. Now, that's a single strand, which is pretty garbage. Unless you put a lot of wool in there to that one little strand, which is just one little twist, it isn't as strong as it could be, and let's face it, this is a farm. So you're going to need to have a spinning wheel to create a spool of thread with a lot of bat. Then you're going to need multiple spools on, it's not a serger, on another spinning wheel that intertwines different spools of thread. To form the twisted fiber. So 3, 4, 5, 6 different twists. I want a really rigid, rough, strong, even abrasive fiber for exterior coveralls and work shirts and coats and things. For undergarments, t-shirts and socks and other, I would want softer stuff. To be continued. But we want to create threads. But now that you have threads, you're not going to knit thread into clothing. So we need to build looms. Step 4. From shaving to carding to spinning into looms. Now I have found some beautiful treadle looms online. I'm sure many of you have had grandparents or great-grandparents who had these great big cast iron Singer sewing machines with a great big pivot treadle device that made the needle pop up and down and do the whole thing. Those were beautiful inventions. I've got to get a couple for the project. But that's step 5. So I want to have a treadle device where you can a loom. Once you thread it properly, depending how wide you want, you run threads from the cradle, which is by your chest. I forget the actual terminology. And then you have top and bottom runners. Each runner has a thread, I guess for my fingernails, to the base by your stomach. And as they work, they fire up and down. Okay, you tap your foot down, and the whole thing moves. And you basically get this fanning motion, right? Whereby every second thread is pulled up, and every second thread is pulled down. You then fire a shuttle, which is basically a spool of thread, in between them, and they switch. You push it back, they switch. You push it back, you switch. And so on until you make the entire thing. The wider the loom, the wider the bolt of fabric. So, ideally, you create this sheet of fabric that you can knit in, or that you can sew into different textiles, different garments. So, as you can see, broken down, each step is pretty rudimentary. So, this is how we'll create our own clothing from our own animals. You'll know where it came from. Even the dyeing process, you would dye the original bats right off the animals before it's carded. You can card them using the 2 different rollers to make the oriented threads into different colors by combining and that kind of stuff, like a color palette. So that's how we intend to create our own clothing from scratch. Anybody can learn it. It's really simple, in theory. I haven't done it myself. But that's how the Tir Tairngire eco-villagers will create their own clothing, and kind of a uniform type thing, because psychologically part of a community, part of one whole thing, a similar type colored, similar garment. If we all wore green coveralls, all the farmers, it would create more of a unity and that kind of thing. We aren't a military unit, but it's the principle of the thing. I won't get into that right now. So that is weaving in its entire process, and now on to the healer, the first aid shack. So I'll see you all in the next video. Thanks for watching.